So welcome to the GAP Alumni discussion panel. We have 3 alumni who are very excited to share their experiences on their respective GAP programs. Let me go to the next slide. So I'm just going to start with just some general information. My name is Dylan Frisbee. I am an enrollment coordinator here in the high school outbound programs, which includes our summer abroad programs, our high school semester and academic year programs, as well as our gap year programs. I've worked at CIEE for almost 2 years total. I was employed prior to the pandemic, and then I just recently joined the team again back in December. So I'm really excited to be back, really excited to have opportunities like this to bring alumni on and have a conversation with prospective students. So first we have Isabelle, and I apologize, Isabelle, I see your name is spelt incorrectly. Isabelle Trillin-Lee, who traveled to Seville, Spain in the spring of 2021. Kate Kingsley, who traveled to Madrid, Spain in the fall of 2020. And Hannah Shabazi, who traveled to Paris, France in the fall of 2021. So I'm going to let the alumni here kind of take the lead and just kind of start presenting on the material that they prepared for us today. And Hannah, you are up first. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, but just let me know when you'd like me to move on to the next slide.
All right. My name is Hannah. Like you said, I traveled to Paris this past fall. I'm currently a freshman at Boston University. And so I never really thought about a gap year or a gap semester. It wasn't in my plan. I was actually committed to a school in San Diego, and then I got an offer from BU that required a gap semester. And it kind of threw me off, and I wasn't sure exactly how to go about it, but I did some research and I found that going abroad could be a great option for me. I wanted to learn French, and this opportunity would allow me to have some space and some time to kind of delve into my interests a little bit. And so when I decided to go to Paris, I set a goal of making myself comfortable in an area of being uncomfortable, because I'm a really big homebody and I don't like going away from home. So it seemed like the perfect opportunity for me. So if you could go to the next slide. All right. And so my experience was amazing. Like, I loved every second of it. I mean, I got to live in Paris, which was awesome. And I think one of the best parts about it for me was the people I met. I met so many people who really impacted me. I mean, some of them are on the screen right now. They're some of my best friends, and I talk to them constantly, at least once a week, which has been really nice. And my favorite aspect of this program was partially the people, but also the independence you have. I was able to travel a little bit on my own and gain like a sense of maturity for myself in doing so. But there was still a bit of structure, which made me feel like I had a sense of what college would be like without having an academic obligation. And so I could transition into kind of like adulthood without being worried about classes and doing well. And so it gave me a little preparation before college. And so that was a big reason why taking a gap semester with CIEE was such a positive experience for me, because of that ability to kind of figure myself out before I went to college. And I didn't have many, I didn't have gap plans other than this, since mine was only a semester. But it filled up pretty much the entire fall semester. So I left when the rest of my friends were leaving for college. And then I came back when my friends came back for winter break. And that also made it a lot easier to think about that I wasn't staying home and being left behind when they were having those experiences as well. And in a way, I feel like I experienced a lot more. If you could go to the next slide, please. So a lot of skills that I had again was really learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I was homesick a lot. And I think that comes from being far from home. But in doing so, I found myself not so homesick when I moved to Boston. And it made it easier for me to feel like an adult. And I saw how mature I became once I moved to Boston after Paris. Because if I could be independent in a new environment where they don't speak my language and I'm thousands of miles away from my small town in Texas, it really made me feel like I could do anything. And my gap semester did really impact my career decisions as well. I came into the gap semester completely unsure of what I wanted to major in, who I wanted to be in the future, what career I wanted to pursue. But again, like I said, one of the best parts was meeting people. And I found that that is something that I love. And I love meeting people and I love hearing their experiences and being able to help others because of the experiences I've heard from others. So currently I'm a business administration major and I'm planning on specifying into like HR management, where I feel like I could take the skills that I learned through the gap and the experiences that I've had into that, and being able to travel and hear more stories and be able to help more people out. So I 100% recommend taking a gap semester. Honestly, I really don't know how I would have started a semester as a freshman in college if I hadn't taken that gap, just because of balancing being able to be away from home and balancing your academic obligations, and having a gap where you're independent and you have the structure, but you don't have to worry about all of these academic things all at once, really help you mature and really help you process what it's going to take. And it's like a practice round almost. And I am flourishing in college now because of it. So I think it's 100% a good decision. And I'm just going to drop my referral link. Can you tell us what types of activities you did there? How did CIEE at structure? Of course. So in Paris, we had 3 hours of French class a day. And then in addition to that, there were extracurriculars every Wednesday. And then there was an added class on Tuesdays that were just like kind of like intercultural communication classes. And that aspect of having to go, because we did go to our French classes at a university in Paris, and being able to be around other students without having to worry about, oh, these grades are legit. it really helped me realize that this is what it's going to be like. I'm going to have to go to class every day at 9 a.m. and have this schedule, and I'm going to need to get my work done, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do this. But you don't have to worry as much about, like, if I don't get this grade on this final, I am going to fail this class and my GPA is going to tank. It wasn't like that. So it was really beneficial in that way. Here's my...
Anna, so you mentioned that you dealt a lot with homesickness. Can you just talk a little bit more about kind of how you like managed your homesickness and what kind of helped with your homesickness while you were abroad?
I think for homesickness, what I found most helpful was filling up my camera roll. So I just started, I didn't dwell too much in my room. I tried to push myself to go outside and just take pictures of different things, because I knew like so many people were saying like, oh my God, you're in Paris. Like, this is amazing. And so I started taking pictures, and I filled my camera roll to where it was like only pictures of Paris, of me in Paris, my friends in Paris, monuments. And it made it less hard for me to deal with, oh, I had this whole entire other life back home. So it just really helped out in that way. That was one of the things I did, at least.
Okay, perfect. And Mauricio, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, or Alice rather, your son wants to go to a high school year abroad. You can reach out to me or one of my colleagues by emailing hsabroad@ciee.org. Again, that's HS like high school abroad, like study abroad @ciee.org. And I'll put it in the chat for you. Next up, we have Isabelle, who there we go, who went to Seville or Sevilla. And then Isabelle, if you'd like to take it from here.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabelle. And yeah, I'm originally from San Francisco, and I'm now a freshman at Yale, and I went to Sevilla during my gap year last spring, so in 2021. And yeah, so in terms of my decision-making process, I also was never really planning on taking a gap year. I just didn't really think it was a thing for me. I just thought I'd go straight to college, but then COVID came, and I think my school released its plan, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, that just doesn't sound very fun. So I was like, I think it's time to take a year off. And luckily it was really easy. They let me just defer for 1 year. So I was just readmitted into the next class, into the class of 2025, which was great. So I just had that whole year free, and which was a bit intimidating at first because I hadn't planned to take one. So I was like, not really sure what I would do with myself. And obviously it was a bit hard to travel with COVID and everything, and hard to find things to do. But luckily I was able to figure it out. And I would say my goal during my gap year was definitely to step out of my comfort zone and also to explore a new country. And luckily I was able to actually explore 2 new countries during my gap year. My first semester, I lived in London as an au pair, which was a great experience, and I think sort of helped prepare me to live in Sevilla. And then I did the CIEE program in Sevilla, which was also a great experience. And then here's just some photos of Sevilla. If you see in the bottom right, there is my walk to school, which was just a beautiful walk. And you can see lots of photos of the river, lots of photos of like my favorite buildings, photos of the park, the church, lots of other things. Yeah, so you can move to the next slide. Great. So now in terms of the experience, I would say one highlight, just like one memory that especially sticks out to me, is I lived with an amazing host family. It was a mom, a dad, and then 2 kids, a 4 and a 5-year-old. And they were so sweet. They were so nice. I was really, really close with them. And they actually had another house in Cortegana, which is a small town about an hour and a half outside of Sevilla. So they took me there, I think 2 or 3 times. And it was just so cool getting to see this like small little village in Spain that honestly, I don't think I ever would have seen without CIEE or without my host family. So that was a really great experience. And also my family owned a restaurant in that town. So their house was like half their house and half a restaurant. So it was really cool to see like how they were like, while I was there, they were like preparing the restaurant. It hadn't like fully gone into business yet, but it was really cool to see like how they were doing that and like all the Spanish food they were making and just sort of how that worked in their culture compared to mine. So that was just a memory like I'll always remember, and I'm just like incredibly grateful for it because I just don't think I ever would have experienced anything like that without CIEE. And then in terms of my favorite aspects of the program, definitely was meeting all of the amazing people that I met. First of all, my host family, just great people. I'm still in touch with them to this day. And then I met so many like great people at the language school I went to. So I also went to language classes every day, Monday through Friday. And I went to this language school called Click, and it was beautiful. It was in this like old palace in the center of Seville, which was really cool. And we'd go for like, I think 3 hours every day also. And it was so cool because there were so many international students there. There were people like from the Netherlands, from Germany, from Switzerland, from Japan, from all over. So I met like all these students that were my age and that were just like from different cultures, different backgrounds. So it was so cool to get to know them and like learn about where they were from and everything. And I also just made so many long lasting friendships with that. And yeah, I think the friendships and the like relationships that I made were like so long lasting. And like, I'm still like, I made one of my best friends on that trip, and I'm actually going back to Sevilla to visit with her this summer. And then we're going to go visit our friends in Amsterdam. So that's been really great. And I also stay in touch with my host family, which has been great. And then on the side in the top center, that's a picture of Cortegana, the town I was talking about. And then there's also photos of Cadiz, which is a beach town right outside of Sevilla that I took a little trip to. And then I was really lucky. I actually right at the end got to go to Granada, which was absolutely beautiful. And I went with a few friends, and there's many, many photos of that on this slide. So yeah, you can go to the next one. And then in terms of the impact of my gap year, I would say one really big thing, I definitely went to improve my Spanish. I've actually known Spanish for a really long time. I went to an immersion elementary school in San Francisco. So I was already like pretty much fluent when I went to Spain, but I think living in a Spanish speaking country just like helps you so much. Like it really just helps you improve. And like living with my host family and like always interacting with the little kids and the mom and like just interacting in the shops and everything like that. Just like my Spanish was at another level when I left that like I had never like experienced before. So that was really great. And then another thing was definitely just responsibility and independence. I think I really learned how to be like responsible for myself and an independent person. It can be like pretty scary, honestly, going to a new country, especially with a new language and being away from your family for the first time. And like, you kind of have to take agency for yourself. So I think it was really great for just like fostering those skills. And I feel like those are skills I've taken with me to college. And like, I can't imagine what I would do here without them. So it's really great that I was able to acquire those skills there. And then I would fully 100% definitely recommend a gap year for high school students. And I would definitely recommend one with CIEE as well. I think I wasn't planning on taking one. Like it was never part of my plan, as I said originally, but I'm so grateful I did. I think there's a lot of things you can learn like on a gap year that you can't really learn in the classroom, and a lot of like skills you can gain that you just don't get just from sitting in a classroom all day. So I think that that's one really good reason. And another thing is I think that after high school, people tend to be pretty burnt out. Like high school is very intense and college is also very intense. So it's a bit hard to go straight from one to the next. And I think taking a gap year where you don't have all that academic pressure and you're like learning in new ways is a really great way to just sort of take a break and then kind of reset when you go to college. And yeah, here's a few photos. There's a lot of photos of the kids I lived with. And then there's a photo of them in their town, a photo of me and them, and then a photo of them dressed up for Feria, which is the fair, like this festival they have in Sevilla every year. It was like it wasn't like the full scale thing because of COVID, but you can see there was like an amusement park. So it was really fun. And then there's some like spray paint activities. We did lots of fun activities with my group and then a few of my friends at the beach, different things like that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend a gap year. Like I can't imagine like where I'd be without this year. So yeah, and I'll drop my referral link in the chat right now.
Okay, and then thank you so much, Isabel, for sharing. And then next up is Kate Kingsley, who did a gap year in Madrid.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. A little bit different from Isabel and Hannah. I absolutely knew I was going to take a gap year from like forever, basically, because I knew how important it was for me to travel. And as Isabel said, just really take a break before college, because you do get burnout in high school and college is intense. And so having that opportunity to learn for the sake of learning and fall in love with learning again was huge for me. And I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. But definitely CIEE and the other experiences I had on my gap year helped with that. So my name is Kate Kingsley. I'm currently a freshman at Stanford University, and everything on my gap year has influenced where I am now. So I'm gonna, if you want to click to the next slide, give a quick overview of everything in my gap year, specifically focusing on CIEE, but obviously you guys are making decisions beyond that. So I just want to talk about the importance of a gap year in general, even though I would recommend CIEE over and over again. And I think Dylan mentioned that actually we have someone on the call who is looking into the high school program. And I also did a high school summer program with CIEE in Alicante, which is in the south of Spain, because I wanted to improve my Spanish, and then that's how I found the CIEE GAP program. I wasn't initially planning on doing it, but CIEE, because they are so organized and coordinated and have all of their stuff together, was one of the few programs that was offering study abroad experiences in the fall, because it was just so complicated with COVID restrictions. I went in fall of 2020, so it was very early on in the pandemic, no vaccines. I had lived sequestered with my family for 3 months, and then I worked as a camp counselor where we all quarantined for 2 weeks beforehand, and then we're living in the wilderness in Maine for 3 months. So switching into Madrid life after not having seen anyone since the last day of my senior year of high school in person was quite a shift. But anyway, part of my decision-making process was the fact that I really wanted to not only gain soft skills like maturity and self-awareness, but also just like practical life skills. So obviously that was a huge factor in terms of choosing to go to Madrid to continue improving my Spanish. And as Isabel said, like it's just night and day. Living in a country where you're constantly immersed with the language really increases your fluency and capabilities in the language, and you just pick up words that you wouldn't have otherwise heard, because the way that people speak Spanish colloquially is very different from what you learn in the classroom. Part of my CIEE experience was supposed to be like gastronomically focused, and it didn't really end up being that to a certain extent just because of the restrictions with COVID, but we definitely had like a little olive oil tasting and learned about food and culture and its intersection within Spanish culture. And that inspired me to, I really want to go, I was supposed to go on my gap year, but unfortunately because of COVID, I wasn't able to get to the United Kingdom. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was very difficult just because it's not in the EU. But I'm going back there this summer to go to cooking school. And I did go in New York and I got my bartending license, which was really fun. And I was able to work for that in order to travel. And then also just in terms of practical skills, I really wanted to improve my Spanish so that I could teach. I'm interested in potentially pursuing a career in education. I'm not really sure yet, but that was huge for me. And then just beyond that, a pause. Academics were really intense. Taking the time off was absolutely incredible. And it really helped with my mental health and helped me find a purpose in what I want to do. So as I said, I worked as a camp counselor to help support myself in Madrid. Because of course, everyone knows this, but obviously taking a gap year can be a financial burden for a lot of people. Luckily, CIEE has amazing scholarships, which I would highly recommend you look into. But obviously your child can also work and help support themselves. And that is what I did so that I could enjoy the more eccentric aspects of Madrileña culture. So I lived in Madrid for 3 months, and we went to language school every day at 9 a.m. for 3 hours in this absolutely stunning building in the heart of the city. And what it was absolutely incredible was that it also had, not only were you getting the entire Spanish culture, but there were a lot of international students. So we had students from China and Germany and Switzerland and Austria and Australia, Japan, a lot of people from the Middle East, from Saudi Arabia. So that was absolutely incredible. And then the reason I chose CIEE is because it was so structured and felt very safe, and you can feel very comfortable letting your kids have that as their first experience away from home. And so then once I was able to build up my fluency in Spanish and gain my independence, I was able to do a lot more in the second semester in terms of independent and non-structured gap experiences, a lot more in the second semester. I went and lived in Costa Rica for 5 months by myself, and I taught English to kindergartners in this tiny little village on the Caribbean coast, and volunteered in an indigenous community up in the mountains and did like physical labor, farm work, lots of stuff. So that was absolutely amazing. And then I worked over the summer to be able to support myself to go backpacking across Italy for 3 weeks, which was life-changing. And Italian is shockingly similar to Spanish, so my Spanish skills definitely helped me out. I was able to weirdly be able to talk to so many people by my Spanish skills and their Italian skills, and some English thrown in, so that was really fun. And just how it's impacted, and then I'll go into a bit more about my experience in Madrid with the next 2 slides with pictures, but how it's impacted me now, having that experience and learning about history and culture and different political systems inspired me to double major in international relations and Iberian and Latin American cultures, which has been super fun. I've taken a lot of classes thus far in those departments. And it's led me to my internship this summer, where I'm going to be interning with in English, the Association of North American University Programs in Spain, which is basically the overseeing body of all study abroad programs between North America and Spain. So I'm very excited about that. I've started doing some work for them remotely now, but we'll hopefully end back up in Spain at some point this summer. And then it just continued my desire for adventure and learning and stretching your skills beyond what you're going to learn in the classroom. So this summer I have that internship, but then I'm also planning on getting my yoga certification in Toledo, which is right outside of Madrid, for a month. And as I said, going back to cooking school. So just this like lifelong love of learning and trying new things and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone was definitely inspired by my gap year. So if you want to skip ahead to the next slide. Just some highlights on the right. This is my street in Madrid, which is insane. That's me and the director of my program walking to go on a bike tour of Madrid with like the beautiful flags and it just doesn't get better than that. On the left, we have the Crystal Palace, which is in the Retiro Park in Madrid, and my friends and I are sitting by the lake. We would go to the park all of the time, constantly trying to surround ourselves with different forms of art. And then we got to take, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure which of the 2 paintings is from this castle, but we were able to take, it was hard because of COVID, but we were able to take, I think, 2 excursions during our 3 months there. And one of them was to this palace just south of Madrid that was absolutely phenomenal and had all this incredible architecture and artwork. And then the picture in the middle of the room is from the royal palace in the city of Madrid. So just like, being surrounded by this history and culture. And then if you want to skip ahead to the next slide. Maybe it's not loading for me. Awesome. So just the people, honestly, is the most incredible experience of a gap year. You're going to learn so much by yourself. You can do it without other people. I had moments of my gap year where I was completely alone, and moments of my gap year where I was surrounded with tons of people. But in CIEE, you're guaranteed to have a very supportive community because you have other people who are going to be there with you. I was very fortunate. Because of the visa restrictions and everything, there were only 2 other girls that were able to go with me, but I absolutely adore them and I'm still in touch with them now. One of them is actually going to do the yoga certification with me. And so we would do these afternoon excursions twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays that our director organized for us. So some of these pictures, like the one in the bottom, like the left-hand corner, was walking around this very cool like the traditional historic LGBTQIA neighborhood in Madrid, where there's lots of artwork, street art. And so we did a tour of that. And then we went outside of Madrid to another little city, and you can see that up there in the picture to the left. And then one of the other cool things was through our school tandem, where we went and did our Spanish classes every day. They also had additional excursions that you could partake in completely free of charge through the school. So we weren't able to participate in many of them because we had our CIE responsibilities, but one of them we got to go to all of the Christmas markets throughout Madrid and learn about the history of Christmas markets in Madrid. I mean, Madrid is absolutely spectacular in the fall. I would say anywhere in Europe is, just because they set up all of these Christmas decorations. And so they had these huge trees everywhere. And so that's a bunch of people from the school. And then just the two pictures in the bottom. One of them is a little cafe that we'd stop by on our walk home from school, and the street that we walked to go to school, and then the metro. We would take them. You just learn so much independence, like having to navigate a metro system in a huge metropolitan city by yourself. That's kind of a lot to ask of someone who's just graduated from high school. So yeah, and then if you just want to go to the last page, you are more than welcome to reach out to me with any questions you have. As I said, I did the high school program as well, which I'm happy to talk about, but I know that's not what this conversation is focused on. Or if you have any questions about Madrid, CIEE, studying abroad, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. So there's my contact info, and then I'll also drop my referral link as well. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kate. So this last section is just a kind of an open forum for questions for anyone who wants to ask questions to our alumni, or you can also ask me any questions about the gap year abroad programs in general. But this is just kind of an open time for you to get some questions answered. And the purpose of the referral link, if you use the referral link but have not opened a gap year abroad application yet, you do receive a discount on the tuition. I believe it's like 200 or 250. I don't remember.
I just am seeing Mariana's question. If I knew I was doing a gap year, did you apply for college in advance of it? Yes, I did. I would highly recommend that, unless you're planning. There's a few schools, a few universities that don't allow you to defer, a very small portion. That actually deeply contributed to my decision. But you have to get in during regular decision process and then choose to defer for a year. So for example, if you get off the wait list in a university, you can't defer. And then there's a few state schools that don't allow you to, like the UC system. So they recommend that you actually wait to apply during your gap year. And one of my closest friends who was on the CIEE experience with me, she applied while we were there. But the traditional path is apply the fall of your senior year and then defer, because virtually every university allows you to defer with no problem. I literally wrote like a sentence to Stanford and they're like, okay, great, see you in a year. So I would definitely recommend that, because it just brings a lot of peace of mind when you're on the gap experience, to be able to just do whatever you want and not have to worry. I mean, it's an incredible moment in your life where you don't have any responsibilities. So apply to college before is my recommendation.
Thanks. Avery, to answer your question about homestays, all of our language and culture programs we try to place all of our students with a homestay.
So the question about Google Maps and the metro, it actually does work, and it's the easiest way to get around, because you could just literally put in like the place you're going, the name of the place, the street, and it'll show you like which line to take and then where to switch over, and makes it really easy. And it also tells you like when the train is coming as well. So it'll be like in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes, or if there's a delay or anything, if it's crowded, if it's not crowded, which is really beneficial, I think.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
So the next question that we received was, I'm from Saudi Arabia and I want to take a gap year, but I afraid that there are a lot of racist people there. So I feel like, if you are experiencing that, we do have staff on site. So especially if you're experiencing it with the homestay at all, you would definitely want to reach out to your on-site coordinator, which you go through an orientation and receive their information. So our goal is to support students, as best as possible on the program. So if you're experiencing that kind of thing, that's something we'd want you to reach out to your coordinator about, so that we can potentially get you into a new homestay and away from that situation. Can you go into more? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to respond to Avery's comment about asking whether or not all the programs were in homestays or if there's also opportunities to live in dorms. And I would just say, like, from my understanding, all CIE programs are in homestays. And I think that's the most incredible and unique aspect of it. And I wouldn't recommend living in a dorm situation. Some people think that'll be more comfortable because you're surrounded with more Americans, but it really detracts from the immersion aspect of the experience. And I have friends that did do that, and they were really bummed because of COVID. A lot of places wouldn't allow you to stay with host families, and they're really bummed out because you just miss out on a huge part of the immersive experience, having dinner conversations in the target language. So I would steer away from those as a personal anecdote.
I agree with that as well. My host mom actually didn't speak English, so our entire dinner conversations were spoken in French. And even though that was really difficult for me, and I had to bust out Google Translate once in a while, I think like my French was exponentially better. Like I came back and spoke to my French teacher from high school, and she was like, wow, like you should have gone before the AP exam. And I agree. And it's just a lot better. Like it's a big part of it, the experience. Like you have French food, you speak French, and you learn about their culture and how it's just a lot better, in my opinion.
So the referral link takes you to the sign-in page, and when you sign up using the referral link, it should automatically apply that to your account, and it will let us know. Rachel, if you can confirm that, but I do think that's correct.
And then I'm
Yes,
sure John
sorry,
can touch
it
on
will.
this. Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Rachel.
sorry. Yeah, no, it's
You're
okay.
good.
Yeah, it is a $200 discount, and it will automatically be applied to your program. If it does not automatically apply, we can always manually apply it. It'll show up in our system.
Yep.
I just wanted to respond to the question about choosing host families, which I'm sure Dylan can also elaborate on, but I had a lot of conversations with my director about it, because actually, I did mention this, but I went back to Madrid last summer to bring my family, to introduce them to my host family, and to visit my friends again, which was an amazing experience. But I also got coffee with the director of the CIE program, who, if you're considering Madrid, Eero is like the best person on planet Earth. So just do Madrid purely for that reason. But they thoroughly do background checks and scans on all of the families. And in addition to that, they meet with the families one-on-one once they're already in the system and talk to them to see which family would be the best placement for your child. And for example, for our situation, because of everything with COVID and the hecticness and quarantine, they chose to put us in a host family where they had room for 3 girls, where they prefer girls because families can put a preference for gender preference. And they were so sweet, and the location was perfect. And I've never heard anyone have a problem with the family. And if they do, you automatically get a transfer, and that action is taken immediately. And for example, I remember when I was there in the fall, there was a possibility that another student was going to join us partway through the semester who was transgender, and they specifically met with families to see if they were willing to accommodate that, how they would best accommodate that, and all of those specific details. And then also I remember that when I got coffee with my director over the summer, He was in the midst of handling the high school program, and there had been a conflict between the students and the host family, and it wasn't the host family was amazing. It was the boys who were acting out inappropriately, but they were immediately like removed from the situation, and everything is handled like to the T. Like, it's amazing how they have everything so under control.
I also want to mention, I saw that there was a student from Saudi Arabia here. In my application, there's a part with the host family where if you have a specific request for one, I mentioned that I was Middle Eastern and I was placed in a host family that was a Middle Eastern host family. So I got to eat like halal meals and was only with a woman, which was very comfortable for me specifically. And I think it's just, it works out.
Yep. And also kind of building on that point in the application, like if you have any dietary restrictions or anything like that, there is a spot for that as well. And we do take that into consideration when making homestay placements. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you for attending, and I want to thank our 3 alumni for coming. Oh, we did get one more question. Are students allowed to travel in the weekend? Do one of you want to?
Yeah, so it depends if you're doing the high school program, which I believe you might have mentioned you were considering for your child. High school students are not allowed to travel on the weekend, but CIEE has lots of planning in advance for that. So we took weekend trips virtually every weekend, or if not, the host parents were aware and were expected to engage with us and do stuff with us around the city. But then for the GAP program, you basically are living by yourself. Like CIEE has enough structure where if you don't want to plan your time, you will have plenty of stuff managed through CIEE. Like, as I said, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we had these cultural outings. On Wednesdays, we had an online, I think it was like global citizen class. It was remote with the people in Paris. And then we were supposed to have 4 trips, but we were only able to have 2 on the weekends and they were day trips. We didn't stay overnight because of COVID. But normally in previous years when COVID wasn't an issue, people would try, I mean, once you're in Europe, it's like a train ride or a flight, and people would do that all the time. We didn't get to do that because there were very severe restrictions. You couldn't leave the community of Madrid, which is kind of like a larger area beyond the city. But that wasn't a problem for us because there was so much to explore within the city. So we would pack our weekends full with tons of things, visiting different neighborhoods, museums, because you basically, to answer your question about health insurance, yes, they do. They handle everything with health insurance. It's called iNext. I used it on my high school program. I used it on my GAP program. It lasts the whole year, so I didn't have to get health insurance when I went to Costa Rica, which was super cool. So yeah, iNext is great. It covers like everything.
It's also really easy to use. I got sick a couple of times while I was there. You literally just have to keep the receipt and just send a picture to the company, and they just fully reimburse you. And it's not even though medicine over there is not even as expensive as it is here, it's still useful. Yeah.
So there was a question on here about visas. CIEE will, give you the documents required from our end for visas, but applying for the visa and getting the other documents for the visa and for the visa appointment would be up to you, to the family and their student.
But you also probably won't need a visa because unless you're planning on spending the full year, but no CIEE programs are a full year long. They're all only semesters, so it's less than 90 days. The only reason I didn't get a student visa because I'm a dual citizen and have a German passport, but the other 2 girls had to get student visas because you couldn't travel to Europe. There was a travel ban on United States citizens, and so the only way to kind of find a loophole in that was to get a student visa, and they extended the program beyond 90 days. But none of you should have to be getting student visas in order to participate in a GAP program.
So our
So
programs
for-
did
oh,
change a little bit.
Oh, I apologize.
No,
My
that's
bad.
okay. So we actually made all of our programs over the 90-day mark, so that you have to get a visa now. Just in
Amazing.
case you
Sorry.
want to do travel after the program. Because if you want to do travel after the program, you would be out of that 90-day window and you'd have to go home first. So to avoid that, most of our programs do require a visa now.
Got it. Well,
So-
getting a visa is very easy, and CIE like handles everything, is what I've heard. Like they literally contact the consulate for you in order to get the documents. So it's not a very difficult process.
So to answer the next question about the most timid student, she's actually on this picture, right in the center with the black and white striped jacket. That's my friend Sabine. She started out the year and like completely separate from us. She would try to stay at home most of the time, like go to class and then immediately go back home. And then I just watched her through the activities, which put us together for long periods of time, open up more and more and more throughout the semester, to the point where like she's literally one of my best friends. And she flourished there. I mean, you can see this picture was taken at like, I want to say around the end of the semester. And I mean, you can tell by the smile on her face how excited she was to be there and to see everything. It was right after we went to an art museum too. No problem.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, perfect. So I do want to thank our alumni again for, giving us their time this evening to present on their experiences. If you do want to reach out to us, you can email us at hsabroad@ciee.org, or you can call us anytime at 1-866-583-0332. And I'll put those both in the chat one last time. And if you don't have any other questions, you can feel free to sign off, but I'm going to put this in the chat just so that you have the contact information.